The scripture today is from Proverbs 3, books 5 through 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not rely on your own insight. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. John 14, verse 27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not let them be afraid.
Thank you. I'm so excited because I'm not the speaker today. That doesn't make me look good, does it? That's why I'm wearing a hat. That's why I gave my permission. John will be speaking today, and his message really ties in with what we have been proclaiming since really beginning of this year. And I want you to hear John's message as a way to say, you too have a voice. You too have a say. You too have a calling that can be proclaimed. And I believe every one of you has a calling in that. So I hope John's message today will come to you as a huge understanding and a gift. But before we do, as we have said we will do during the Lent season, we'll start with a meditation. I learned all the more reason why we should meditate. Studies have shown, but they say humans are born with a specific happiness quotient, like that's your quotient, and you kind of meet there. But the only way you could increase it, guess what, is through meditation. So by engaging in meditation, I think it's quite special we get to do it in a community. It's all about opening our hearts. And last week I mentioned, y'all, we're gonna all die, da-da-da, and I kind of just left it there. I should have said, the death is not the end. That we continue. There is life after death, for me at least. So if you can't believe that for yourself, then you can cling on to my faith. But we do not end. Life is just a new transition. So if you're worried that you're gonna die and that's it, there you go. All right, friends, so if you can come to your awareness of where you are sitting in your seats. And just to preface it, this is a guided meditation recognizing the trance of our unworthiness. And here today, we're going to recognize the beliefs and fears that sustained our thoughts of unworthiness, which really blocks us from experiencing freedom. So we're going to use this to pause, to consider the parts of ourselves that we habitually reject and push away so that we can claim ourselves again. So as you have your eyes closed and you are in your body, here are the questions I have for you, and you can reflect these back to yourself quietly, internally. Do I accept my body as it is? Do I blame myself when I get sick? Do I feel I'm not attractive enough? Am I dissatisfied with how my hair looks? Am I embarrassed about how my face and body are aging? Do I judge myself for being too heavy, underweight, not physically fit? Do I accept my mind as it is? Do I judge myself for not being intelligent enough, not humorous enough, not interesting enough? Am I critical of myself for having obsessive thoughts, for having a repetitive, boring mind? Am I ashamed of myself for having bad thoughts, mean, judgmental, or lusty thoughts? Do I consider myself a bad mediator because my mind is so busy? Do I accept my emotions and moods as they are? Is it okay for me to cry? To feel insecure and vulnerable? Or do I condemn myself for getting depressed when I'm ashamed of feeling jealous? Am I critical of myself for being impatient, irritable, intolerant? Do I feel that my anger or anxiety is a sign that I'm not progressing on the spiritual path? Do I feel I'm a bad person because of the ways I behave? Do I hate myself when I act in a self-centered or hurtful way? Am I ashamed of my outbursts of anger? Do I feel disgusted with myself when I eat compulsively, or when I smoke cigarettes or drink too much alcohol? Do I feel that because I'm selfish and often do not put others first, I'm not spiritually evolved? Do I feel as if I'm always falling short in how I relate to my family and friends? Do I feel something is wrong with me because I'm not capable of intimacy? Am I down on myself for not accomplishing enough, for not standing out or being special in my work? Often we perceive the trance most clearly by recognizing how we want others to see us and what we don't want them to see. I'd like you to bring to mind someone you spent time with recently, someone you like and respect but don't know well. Think of someone, bring to mind someone you spent time with recently, someone you like and respect but don't know too well. What do you most want this person to see about you? That you're loving? That you're generous? That you're attractive? And what do you not want this person to perceive about you? That you're selfish? That you're insecure or jealous? As you go through your day, pause occasionally to ask yourself, this moment, do I accept myself just as I am? And without judging yourself, simply become aware of how you are relating to your body, emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. And as the trance of unworthiness becomes conscious, it begins to lose its power over our lives. You are loved. You are beloved. You are sovereign. You are divine. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes, come back to your senses. Take a deep breath in and out. Thank you all for allowing your body to be present and grounded, to reflect on these very mundane but important questions. And for those of you interested, she's Tara Brach, a very well-known Buddhist practitioner. This one's called Radical Acceptance. John, I've been calling your last name wrong the entire year and a half. I've been calling you John Espy. And a kind teacher instructed me that is Espy. So John Espy.
Hello.
Hello, will you present your work? You won't need this.
Well, you gave me the Britney Spears speaker, or microphone, yes, which doesn't make me look like Britney Spears, so. So, I made the mistake last week of going up to Anna and saying, you know, some of the things you've been saying in the last few homilies really ring true with things that I've been reading lately. And she said, oh, good, you can do the message next week. So here I am.
Then they're not going to talk to me after church.
Oh, well, so here I am. What's been happening in our country the last couple of months isn't a new thing. It's been happening for 60 plus years in dozens of countries all over the world. Different things, it's basically shock therapy. It's a shock doctrine. It's an intention of taking advantage of situations in countries that are very disruptive. Sometimes it's initiated by political unrest, like in the Soviet Union, with the fall of the Soviet Union, the military coup of Chile in 1964, economic unrest in the Eastern Pacific, which affected South Korea, Japan, Indonesia, terrorist attacks like 9/11, military action like the invasion of Iraq in 2003, natural disasters like the tsunami in the Indian Ocean in 2004. Chile, Argentina, Lebanon, Brazil, Uruguay, Sri Lanka, Bolivia, South Africa, Poland. I mean, the list goes on where this type of thing has happened. Following a catastrophe or following a real disruption, there's a push in order, as a prerequisite for countries to get the kind of financial support they need to rebuild, there's a push to bring about privatization of government assets and of government services, of manipulating of taxes, manipulating of prices, and it's a plan to take the opportunity when the population is vulnerable, when they're frightened, they're ungrounded, their whole sense of reality has been undermined. This inevitably leads to an erosion of democracy, human rights abuses, wealth disparity, a huge increase in poverty in these countries, and oftentimes the rise of authoritarianism. If you'd like more details on the history of that, there's a great book called The Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein. It's a fantastic book. The perpetrators of what's happening in our country right now are trying to make us fearful. They're trying to make us feel ungrounded. They're trying to shake our sense of what reality is. Anna talked a while back about illusion and delusion. Many of us, perhaps most of us, have suffered under the illusion that our Constitution, our rule of law, our separation of powers is the bedrock foundation of our country and of who we are and our identity. And keeping track of where I am in this. The reality is that basically the Constitution and rule of law are invisible lines, which Anna talked about. Invisible lines are neither good nor bad, but they can serve either way. Invisible lines are no more materially real than national boundaries or credit lines or even money. When you look at money, you might think that, you might say, well, this is money, right? No, this is just a piece of paper. The only reason it's money is because we all agree that it's money. I could go on and on and on about things. Anyway, money is, we agree on it, we abide by it, and we hold each other accountable for it. If this was a piece of paper that had 20 on it instead of a 10, we'd say it's worth twice as much, right? We all agree when we go into the store, something costs $10, we give them a piece of paper that says, this represents $10. And if I try to walk out of Fred Meyer with something that costs $10 and don't give them a piece of paper that represents $10, they'll arrest me and take me to jail. So they hold me accountable for money as well. The same goes with our Constitution. It's very much of our identity. It's very much of who we are as Americans, who we are as individuals, that we have individual rights. And so it's very, invisible lines of the Constitution and the rule of law are very important to us. Now, invisible lines can also be used in a very maladaptive way. Basically, when we say that we're separate from each other, that's invisible lines that separate us. There's, when we say that, when they say that I can't say that I'm separate from you, because when I'm here, we're breathing the same air, we're exchanging ideas, there's no way that we can be present without affecting each other. Saying that we are different than them, whoever they happen to be, there's no differences. We share 99.99% of the DNA. We share the same loves and passions and discomforts. We suffer the same with pain and suffering. We are more like each other, no matter who we are in the world, than anybody else. We draw invisible lines that say that some lives are more valuable than others. Right now, there's children dying in Africa because of a removal of U.S. aid. So there are people dying right now because of the things that are happening. The intention of all of this is basically shock therapy. It's trying to paralyze us with fear, trying to make us feel alone, ungrounded, lost. I read a book a few years ago called How God Changes Your Brain. It was written by Andrew Newberg, a medical doctor, and Mark Waldman, a neuroscientist. And they used functional MRIs to try to decide or try to determine how much belief in God affected the activities of the brain and perhaps even the structure of the brain. And what they found was that people who believe in an angry, fearful, wrathful God had an increased activity in their amygdala, which Anna talked about the amygdala last week, about how the activity in the amygdala is activated by our fear. You know, if a tiger walked into the sanctuary right now, your amygdala, everybody in this room, your amygdala would be activated immediately when you decided either to fight or flight. Good luck on trying to fight the tiger that comes in. What they found was not only does the activity of the amygdala increase, but over time, the size of the amygdala increases. It actually grows as we go through this cycle of chronic fear. They found that people who believe in a loving God, a loving and compassionate God, actually have a decrease in the activity of the amygdala, and the amygdala actually shrinks over time. So it's kind of a feedback loop that whatever it is that you're dwelling on increases or decreases the activity and the size of the amygdala. So it actually changes the physical brain itself. What was really fascinating is that even atheists who pray to a loving God have the same results. They also found that people that do meditation on a regular basis have the same results. You have a decrease in the activity and a decrease in the size of the amygdala. So, fear will kill you. It increases the cortisol in your bloodstream. It increases your blood pressure, your heart rate, your breathing rate. Jesus said, who of you by worrying can add a single hour to your life? Jesus was exactly right, not just conceptually, but clinically. Fear, chronic fear, will shorten your life by hours or days. So we want to not give in to the fear that we're being encouraged to feel. Now, all that's the bad news. The good news is that there is hope. Which is another of Anna's topics. many of these countries that had this shock therapy eventually had a reinstitution or revitalization of democracy. The authoritarians have tended to decline, to fall over time. The democracy has come back. And with democracy, an improvement in wealth disparity, a decrease in poverty has happened. So there is hope. And not to make totally rosy picture out of it, but many people with what's happening right now will suffer, and people are dying. This is a terrible thing that's happening, but it's not the end. One of the things that we can do is immunize ourselves from being fearful and feeling powerless. One example, Lebanon from 1975 to 1990 experienced civil war, and it was terribly devastating. It destroyed very much of the country. And as a result of that, they had to appeal to other countries to get funding to help rebuild. But the conditions were put on them by the IMF and the World Bank that in order to get the funding, they had to agree to give up some of the services that they had, some of the assets the government held. There was a billionaire in Lebanon who basically bought up the entire center of Beirut, privatized it basically, and he built all kinds of wonderful malls and wonderful stores. I'm sure Nike was there and McDonald's and all kinds of wonderful things. And they had private security that kept all of the riffraff, the poor people out. Well, in 1996, Israel attacked Hezbollah in Lebanon and did a huge amount of destruction. And again, Lebanon was very much in need of funding. And they went out, and again, they were told, okay, if you want the funding, you have to sell your telephone company, you have to sell your energy company, you have to increase the price on gasoline, you have to raise taxes on consumer goods. And the prime minister at the time said, oh, okay, yeah, we'll do that. Well, the people didn't agree. The people who lived outside this green zone in Beirut went in and did a sit-in and camped out for weeks in this privatized area of Beirut, until the government finally capitulated and the powers that be, the various countries that were offering up funds, backed off on their demands for privatization. So those people, because of the shock that they'd experienced in the past, had become immune to that shock. They no longer experience that shock. Well, that's something that we need to do ourselves now. Instead of giving in to the fear and the anxiety and the feeling of powerlessness, we need to immunize ourselves from that. So what do? We take care of ourselves mentally and physically. We keep informed without doom scrolling. And that's hard to do because when you're reading things that are reinforcing what you already believe, you want to keep reading, but you need to find a point where you stop doing that and get back to living your life. We need to combat loneliness by being with others, by serving others, by supporting each other, by resisting this chaos. So I have some suggestions. In terms of self-care, I encourage you to spend time in nature. Go for a walk. Breathe the fresh spring air. Watch the birds and the squirrels. Jan and I are retired, and we have the good fortune in the mornings, before we do any doom scrolling or look at anything other than the weather, we sit in our great room. We have sliding glass doors that look out on our backyard, and we have bird feeders out there, and we'll spend 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour drinking our first cup of coffee, just watching the yard, and it's wonderful. There's no invisible lines in nature. We came from the earth. We'll return to the earth. And even a 10-minute walk in nature can be calming. So we need to, like I said, stay informed. Try to remain dispassionate. If you find yourself getting upset by what you're reading, stop reading it. Take a breath. Take some time. Community is vital. Be around people that love and support you. In addition to church, in addition to the Bible study that's become a central part of our lives, Jan has a knitting group she meets with regularly. I have a meditation group that I meet with. Those activities are absolutely vital for keeping us grounded. Let go and let God through prayer and meditation. It works. Even an atheist who doesn't believe in God, try praying. Service to others. We have Night Strike that we do, which is very rewarding experience. Have an all-church work party coming up. It's an opportunity to be with others and be of service. Does anybody else have other suggestions? Anything that you'd like to raise? Minda, where's the other microphone?
Find some really beautiful music to listen to and spend some time listening. Or if you can create music, make music. Even better, do it with others.
Okay, join the choir. Anybody else? Okay, well, I do have one last thing. There's an opportunity to be with others, to be of service. Oh, Kyle, you had something. Mm-hmm. Matt, did you? No?
Whenever I'm feeling really low, really depressed, I try to think of some one thing I can do for somebody else. Who else can I help? I could make mini muffins and take them over to Barbara's. That smile, it makes all the difference. Some little thing I can do for somebody else makes all the difference for me, brings me up.
Okay, well, so you have an opportunity to be with others, to be of service, to participate in the resistance, all in one weekend. The first Saturday in April, the 5th, is normally reserved for the all-church work party, but an organization called 5051 Movement has scheduled a day of action with protest marches in cities all over the nation. 50 protests in 50 states, one movement. April 5th. So there will be a march in downtown Portland that starts at noon. And we at the church have not yet worked out the details, but what we want to do is gather here in the morning to prepare signs, to organize carpooling. The all-church work party is moved to the next day, Sunday, and it's going to be right after church. So wear your grubbies to church and bring your garden tools to church. We'll be bringing some food for lunch. It's not going to be a potluck. It's going to be more finger food and such because we have to be able to get out and work in the yard and not have to be washing dishes and silverware. So we'll be getting more information. There's a little bit of information in the bulletin about it. But and feel free to bring additional snacks or beverages, whatever you like to share. And we will celebrate our resistance, our resilience, our community, and the arrival of spring. So I'm hoping that my hair looked okay today as I was up here. Yes, I appreciated the meditation. And I had also hoped that rather than just reading my message today, that I would just have some bullet points, and I found that I'm not practiced at this enough, but hopefully the message got across and you appreciate it.
One more note. Thank you so much, John. What a pertinent message for all of us. And I really did not like how you all responded way more to him. Of course, that's what I noticed. No. I love it. Going with the flow. And something that I decided that I will add into my routine that I have not done as well because I'm surrounded by it is to ground myself in earth, in nature. They say nature has the same frequency that your love is ready to receive. And something I said as a kid was, I want to go out in nature because they don't judge you. Is something that I said, and they don't. They are just receptive, and they're just so full of. So do that. Join the Ramblers group. Go out in nature, breathe a little bit, and come back as whole self.